Hi, welcome to Radio FM 88 Australia, broadcasting from Springwood in Queensland. My name's Jeffrey Shaw. I'm the voice down the bottom here. Now, right at the very top is co-host Julia Chai, and in the middle we've got Andrena Forrest, and she's currently in the UK. Now, the reason we've got three of us on tonight is it's with greatest love and respect. And Julia's given notice to pursue her own career in Mindsies, and to facilitate the transfer over across, we thought we'd focus on Julia because she's been there helping everybody else in these last 20 months as we reached out to people around the world to share a new dream in the new dream. And it's only right that we put some priority onto Julia there and tell everybody why she came on the show and what her skills set was. It's very important. Maybe we should have done that earlier in the show to let people know, but it just transpired that we're both givers, and as a result, we Dreaming the New Dream was about encompassing people to share their passion rather than what we consider to be mainstream news narrative and the game of Monopoly. So it's without further ado, that's Julia, but we'll now give you a quick glance here of Andrena. Now, we had actually Andrena on our show. Andrena spent 10 years in Australia, traveling around Australia and also New Zealand, and spent a lot of time in the UK where she's born, and traveled across in Europe and also the United States. Both girls have that same love for meeting people, meet and greets, very exceptional. They are very open-minded ladies. They're very receptive to new ideas, new concepts. We'll try it out, test it, and they always give their humble opinion about the gifts of an individual or the product that they bring to the table. And so hence the reason it was really remarkable how, there's a saying, closing doors, opening doors, and whilst we close the door for Julia tonight, it's an open door for Julia to pursue her own aspirations, and that will be coming forthright tonight when we discuss what Julia does. And of course, Andrena, her skill set is in voice empowerment, where she was taught by a lady over in Ohio who is a Cherokee medicine woman, and taught her the sounds of voice and how a voice can actually heal you. And all you have to do is just listen to the voice, and you can find out when the voice speaks like I'm speaking now, where it hits a certain note and frequency in the octave, and as a result, you can actually then realize where the injury or the illness is pertaining to the body. It's a remarkable form of healing. And of course, sound healing and vibrational healing is the tool, and most people who have had that understanding realize that when you look in the Mother Nature's medicine chest, particularly in the willow tree, and as a result you get the aspirin, it's well and good to go into Mother Nature's medicine chest because it's got a vibrancy to it. It's when the industrial sector then tries to replicate that in a chemical compound, but it doesn't have a vibrancy to it. So sound vibration is one of the new modern healing techniques. And of course, Julia, her technique is in Qigong, and of course it's about moving the energy through your body. And as a result, when you start fluctuating the energy around your body and talk to the cells, it's very impressive. And so when she then moves from Qigong and moves into quantum healing and moves into hypnotherapy and then talking to the cells, both these ladies cross-pollinate. And it's remarkable that when Julia put her hand up to say that she would like to step aside, all you had to do was put a request to the universe, and it's like asking for a car park. And Andrena turns up. I mean, what can you say? It's remarkable. So that's the story. That's why we're on tonight. And it's all about both Julia for the 3/4 of the show, and then we'll just give that intro with Andrena. And let's make it the best for Julia, because she really deserves it for all the time and energy that she's put into it, for helping so many people on this planet. We've gone cross borders here, both in Australia and across into United States, throughout parts of Europe, Canada, and of course in the UK, and Singapore and Malaysia. I forgot about those 2 places as well. Remarkable. So without further ado, I've held the microphone too long. It's got to bring our mate Julia into the show. Well, first of all, welcome, girls. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. It's the first time I've been compared to a queen bee, so I've been giggling away. But yes, thank you for the marvelous introduction.
Right.
And shout out to our listeners, Helen and Robin, and I'm sure the others that will pop on later. So, and Andrena, welcome into the slot, onto the helm.
Right. So it is really thrown on the spot there, but so I'll put forward the commentary here and say that Julia started life in a mixed of parents of a mixed culture. So we had Germans and Malaysian Chinese. So we had a marriage and a bridge between East and West philosophies and cultures. And that's really been the litmus test for Julia and her appreciation in life itself, because that cross-pollination of right brain, left brain has really seen her bloom, and that's why she's been on the radio show, the co-host. Her skill set's superb. So we moved from Germany, and of course, I said to you when we first met, did you ever play Monopoly over there in Germany? And you said yes. And I thought, right, okay, here we go. So, and of course, we talked about that. And the reason we came up with Dreaming the New Dream was because of Monopoly, in the sense that, you know, it might be a rainy day, but you get your mates together, you throw the dice, whoever gets the 2 sixes becomes the banker. The money's already printed. Everybody gets distributed with some money, a bit like JobKeeper here in Australia. And you go around the board, collect your pension, and then you've got to go into a commercial operation, accumulating property, get a superannuation policy by buying utilities such as the waterworks and the railway stations. And then you go broke and you go outside, kick a ball around. Before you know it, all your rest of your mates are playing a new game. And so the banker is left with his money he's produced out of thin air. So dream the new dream. Let's bring everybody on board. We've got different ways of looking at life. So I was quite surprised that Germany had their own monopoly. And so from that moment onwards, Julie and I stepped out. And so from Germany, you take over.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. That's entirely true. I didn't just play Monopoly. I was also an investment banker, actually, and played in the game of raising lots of money, but for different corporations that were basically trying to expand, etc. And I did play the game. You know, I was, both my parents are very academic, skilled, and they grew up with the age of reason, overcoming superstitions and fights between different cultures. So everything had to be very logical and grounded in fact. And I think that was a really good training ground for me. But I did find that playing the rules of society did not leave me in a place that was very fulfilled. You know, you learn to play the game, you learn what it takes to get ahead. Some of those things that it takes to get ahead are not really good for family life or for your own soul life, and it kind of leaves you empty to a stage that you kind of go, okay, I've done everything that I'm meant to do, go to uni, get the big job, earn lots of money. What next? My life's empty. Well, with my husband and me decided to have kids then, actually.
As you do.
As you do, and we just absolutely adore them. They're wonderful. You know, it's just beautiful. But when my kids came along, things changed for me, because certainly with my number 2, there was a soul that, you know, was definitely an old soul. You know, she arrived here, and it was kind of like, you know, you listen to babies' screams, you try and listen to them. Is it like, are they cold? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Do they need the nappies changed? This one was a scream of frustration. It was like, oh my God, I'm in this body. I forgot how terrible it was. I'm stuck in this body. Can't do anything for 3 months. I can't communicate with anybody. It was just like this. And I just knew this little soul had been here before. It was like an adult soul stuck in a baby. And that kind of experience makes you start to ask questions. And when I did get to Australia, I was able to read up and find out a lot about the spiritual world. Hey, Ramon. And I was lucky enough to be able to retire from investment banking and investigations and switch over, retrain as a hypnotherapist. And I was teaching Qigong and Tai Chi as a hobby. And then that grew into classes. So I'm really, really fortunate to have been able to spend since 2008, basically, walking people behind the scenes to, contracts they might have negotiated with other players in their family before this lifetime, and to renegotiate them or just work out what their life purpose was or is, and also to help reprogram programs in their subconscious which are making them anxious or depressed or traumatic, and that is tying up their energy. So they don't have to play that game. Everybody can sort of get out of that game of Monopoly and start inventing their own game. And we kind of have to, because we have to decide what we stand for, what our principles are, and we have to make choices, and then we live by those choices. So the freedom to make those choices and to dream that new dream and listen to your heart and follow that is incredibly key, which is why when Jeff asked me to join on the show, I was very happy to do so.
Excellent. I was reading up about you, and you were saying about you being like a timeline traveler. And that, I thought, I like that, because we're all working on timelines, aren't we, in different ways on the new earth. And I thought, yeah, that's a good title. I like that.
Yeah, thank you, Andrena.
Yeah, and that's important, because like in the past, we've all carried all sorts of dramas, baggage, emotions, and all sorts of things. And it's finding the easiest way to let go and find the root cause without having to go over things over and over again and keep dragging it up. It's like finding this quick, simple ways. So I was having a little, because I don't really know a lot about you, and I was looking on your awakening page, and then I was having a little giggle because you were doing the towel exercise, just showing a rolled up towel, just doing little exercises and things. And I thought, yeah, it's how we can do things simple, and it's like the lung exercise is like, what you're doing is just doing it easily, effortlessly, and simply. And I've always said, let's do it simple. I can't do complicated. ABC, get on with it and get to the root cause and move on. So anyway, over to you. I had a little giggle when I was watching you with your towel.
That was actually quite funny, because that was my first video in pajamas during COVID lockdown. It was like, okay, what do we do? So I was very lucky that Tom Davison helped me with that, and he's helped me ever since episode 1 with Jeff on the show. So a big shout out to Tom for supporting all of us on that show. And yeah, the timeline travel, I like it because it's a bit like when you learn how to do the knitting and you make mistakes, and then your mother says you have to undo it all the way till the very first time you made that mistake. And often that's not on this timeline, it's often on another timeline. And the whole point is that there was a challenge or a situation that we kind of failed at. And just as an example, sort of one time I went back I do get very annoyed and very angry at I kind of flare up, and Greg Williams, who we had on the show, Jeff, you'll remember, the chi artist, he knows that I'm a fire horse. He kind of says, Julia, they used to drown girls like you. Why? Because you make terrible wives. So we've been joking about that. But I do flare up, and I think once I sort of asked the question, where do my anger issues come from? And initially I thought it might be from my family, but I just thought I had a flashback of a memory where I was kind of a gorilla primate, probably a Neanderthal or something. But anyway, I was in charge of the little mob of Neanderthalers, and I had been climbing along the cliff, and I'd fallen, and this stick jabbed me, and it was really painful. But because I was like head honcho female, I actually had to pretend that I was not hurt. because I was the alpha female and the other mobs were watching us, and if they detected any weakness, our mob would get completely wiped out. So that's where my anger management issues come from. And you just ask the question, then you download the information, and it's as simple as that. And that's what I'm really passionate about. People don't realize that that we actually, each of us has that agency and that sovereignty, that we can access information, be it about our own timelines or be it about connecting to other dimensions, be it the elementals or spirit guides or higher dimensions. And that all those different realms or aspects of ourself, which are all happening at the same time, they kind of revolve around us, and that they're accessible. We just have to put the thought or question out, and then we can get the information. And that's why it's been great to have people on this show, who do animal whispering or talk to angels, or, like Andrena, working with the body, music tones. And I'm a huge proponent of that as well, working with the body.
And that's it. The body holds the key. People don't realize when you get an ache or a pain or you do something, it's usually relating to a blocked emotion. And rather going to the doctor and getting a pill and just carrying on going down that road, instead of addressing what's going on. Okay, why have I done this? What's the emotion there? How can I clear it? And that's the key. Your body's got, listen to your body, listen to what's going on, what you're feeling, what comes up, where is it coming from? I mean, our body's the greatest teacher, but you have to be aware, you have to listen. And like yesterday, I came back from a long walk and I come in the door and I bashed my knee, and I thought, oh God, what's that about? And I thought, oh well, that's nothing, I just bashed my knee. But there's so much deeper stuff, and people don't realize why they get all these different aches and pains and cancers. A lot of people don't want to go there. That's the problem. They don't want to take responsibility for themselves. They don't want to lose weight and change their diet. And it's like, it's putting out for the people, okay, here I am, I can help you. And this is my gifts, this is my skills. Let's just talk about it and see where you're at. I mean, it's as simple as that, really. But, you have to be open and prepared to just let go and see what starts coming through, because we're all guided, we're all given the messages, and it's just if you're quiet enough to listen, isn't it, really?
Absolutely, I agree with you. And I think in growing up, we get taught to subcontract that responsibility out to doctors and the medical system, or people that we might know that we think are wise. But ultimately, we have our body, our physical body, but it has its own consciousness, and it's always trying to communicate. So any pain and stiffness is a signal, it's a message. And underlying that is energy and consciousness. And I think I'm quite lucky, because with the Qigong, you very much learn to work with your spiritual realm, with your heart realm, and then with your physical realm. And we respect them as three different parts, separate parts, and we always work to integrate them and bring that mindful awareness in. And then, we're also lucky to be living in this age where there's so many, since the 80s, there's so many cases of people going into remission from different chronic illnesses and healing it, be it, misformed spines to cancer remissions to ungrowing a tumor that's grown. And in hypnotherapy, there's this huge, a lot of our clients are basically people who are so fed up with the system because they're being diagnosed in a sort of fairly wide basket condition, and nobody really knows what's going on. And using hypnotherapy, medical hypnotherapy, can basically tune in to the cells or that part of the body, have a conversation with it, and find out what the issue is, as you're saying. It's an underlying emotion, or is it a toxicity that got taken in? Subconscious knows exactly what happened when and where, It's just we haven't been taught how to tap into.
And it's like the new ways of working now, and it's not new, but we're learning different ways, like you doing your hypnotherapy and going straight in and getting to the cause to help that person so it frees them up. I mean, I don't know if you've heard, there's a lady called Alison Coe, and she's a quantum healer. And I did share something this week, but she's a hypnosis practitioner, and she records it and takes people back as to what's going on. And a lot of them are from other planes or ships and are saying, oh, what's going on. She's amazing. It's really, so is there any really exceptional that you could share of working with one-on-one with people, what they've had to address, or their past lives that they've come back from and carried into this life?
Yes, sure. Thank you for the question. It's always fun to be sharing that because they're so remarkable. The quantum healing is actually a method that was trained out by Dolores Cannon, and Dolores Cannon is one of a handful of very famous timeline regressionists. So you've got Dolores Cannon, Dr. Brian Weiss, Michael Newton, and they all have slightly different methods. And the quantum healing is the one where you basically visit whatever lives are relevant or childhood memories are relevant to the issue, the chronic pain. And then you ask to speak to the superconscious or the subconscious of that person, depending on where they're at with their understanding, and then ask them to explain why were you shown those things, and also do a scan and find out what needs to be fixed. So that's pretty much, it really is like a computer. You're going behind the apps, the user apps, and you're talking to your subconscious and superconscious, the MS-DOS, the operating system that knows exactly when things started, why, and what percentage of illness is still there and what percentage has been remedied. I had great success with 2 people who had chronic fatigue and endometriosis for like 8-10 years. And they were just at wit's end, trying everything and not really understanding why, because they'd done all the, one of them was, a builder, but he'd been a martial artist, and he wouldn't hurt a fly. It was just, there's absolutely no real reason in terms of hang-ups or behavioral patterns that could explain the situation. So with that person, his subconscious, we did a session, and his subconscious showed him very, 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 very clearly that the cause of his illness started when he was growing up and he was running around the underground tunnels that were in his neighborhood. And there was just a picture of him going with another group of boys, sort of very famous 5, just on an adventure exploring and crawling through these underground tunnels in their area. And I couldn't quite understand why, because it wasn't really a trauma. So we just asked the subconscious to explain why this memory was being recalled. And then it zoomed in and showed that the hands and feet, while the kids were crawling on their hands and feet, they were picking up toxins. And we weren't sure what toxins. So then he got shown that there was a chemical drum that had been buried in the 50s, a bit to the corner, that had tipped over and leaked. So basically, these kids were crawling through the underground tunnels, picking up the toxins that then, 20, 30 years later is causing massive problems. And
that's
so
amazing.
that's why I tend to, so that's, and I've worked with other people as well where it's actually been environmental toxins, not actual behavioral issues that have led to it. Of course, there are the ones where, people feel like they have allergies or suffocate, or they really resonate to the movies where somebody's being stabbed in the back, and often they'll be taken straight into that lifetime where that's happened. Once they can recall that and understand that that issue is related to a past life, then usually the body can drop that and start recovering. I just had someone last week who remembered being crushed, can't move his left leg, and there was a memory of being in a what do you call it, stampede. There'd been a war, a battle. People had just gone completely mad, and he was crushed underneath that. He did survive, but it was just the memory from that, and often the memory from those past lives appears at the age that you're at, and not before. So
Amazing.
if you've got the condition where nobody can really explain why you've got it, try out.
So have you worked with young children?
I have with the parents occasionally, because obviously with the kids you don't want to work with them on their own. With hypnotherapy and all this, we generally have to be incredibly careful that we do not make suggestions as to what is happening. So, but of course with kids you kind of have to lead them into a neutral make-believe kind of world, so that it's not about them, because kids are worried about being in trouble or doing the wrong thing. But yes, children often, and even adults will often find that a lot of their issues, social anxiety or not being brave enough to do what they really want to do, comes from infant or sort of under the age of 5 type of experiences where they've been lonely and they've been left on their own, and parents have left them, or where they've seen things at night on the way to the bathroom that their parents didn't believe them in. There's a lot of molestation that goes on behind the scenes as well that parents might not be aware of, from friends, neighbors, or even in the house, from stuff that gets suppressed. And that feeling of not being safe in your own home is often then pushed to the background and then pops out later.
Amazing.
But the truth always comes out, and like you said, we basically have to, well, we don't have to, but it's advisable to do the work, be present for the emotions, for the fragments of memories and information that comes to you, and to trust what you're getting, even if it doesn't make any sense at all, even if it's a big white shark, Jeff.
Yeah. The green room beforehand. Hey, everybody has a trigger, and so I was reading your little headline there, being a 30-something-year-old investment banker going through Singapore, and you come across this book, Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. So it was interesting how one particular book with a whole lot of words and encapsulated a story which embodied you so fervently to actually decide, that's it. This is a whole new shift for me, a new passion. I only bring it up because people who are watching or listen to the show would probably think, oh, if you're into Qigong, you're into hypnotherapy, past lives. I mean, hello. But then when you actually bring forth the fact that, you went to London University and you got your degree in economics, and what else did you get it in?
Chinese and economics, and I've also got a diploma in fraud investigation, and I used to work as a forensic accountant, and I've given evidence at the New York District Court on a $50 million fraud case.
Well, there you go. So, I mean, people have to understand that there's 3 sides to a coin, isn't there? I mean, when you put it up here and it's heads, and then you turn it around and it's tails, so you're now seeing both perspectives. But when you do get to see both perspectives, that's the 3rd side of that coin. And it's when someone comes to see you who comes from that left brain analytical business world, or even a humble mum or dad, granddad, grandpa, they want to come and see you. You've got such a field of expertise to be able to communicate to them, to actually say, right, I've been there in that environment. I know what it's like when you get compartmentized in an industrial or business or commercial application, and now all of a sudden you're now using that to break through and open up the keyhole to get inside that mindset to be able to unlock it. I think that's one of the strengths to your Mindsies business, is the fact that you can comfort people and have that empathy of, you can come from that environment, but I'm going to take you into a new, safer place. It's actually going to find that you're the actual doctor. You yourself are the physician. I'm just the, when the traffic lights go down and the traffic cop gets in the middle there and does all the directions and guidance and all that stuff, that's your role. I mean, it's almost like you're a conductor and you're giving them the opportunity to unlock their own potential and know exactly what brought about the profound thought pattern or illness or whatever that's required to be unlocked. That's why I brought the subject. That's why I'm explaining to people why I see how you've been a fantastic co-host on this show that we've created. Yeah.
Spot on, Jeff, and thank you for that. I mean, yeah, I've been very lucky to have worked in different countries and in different industries, and that allows me to work with clients. And, I've actually worked with a woman who was born 6 years before I was, and she was a simple country girl, and first job was working at a hotel in Queensland, in remote Queensland, and she was hypnotized by somebody on the way to a party. And when she met me, sort of 5 years ago, she asked me to basically take her back in time so that she could find out what had been suggested to her when she was hypnotized. So I've got clients like that, but I've also had ex-Vietnam War veterans. I've had, telecoms engineers. I've had very, business people. I've had people working in Denmark, and I've worked with people in Colorado, Germany. Vietnam was great because, we were doing it, but with Vietnamese translation as well.
That must have been fun.
I really didn't think it was worded. This is socialist Vietnam. So, but yeah, and that's what I love about it. It doesn't matter. And I am a facilitator. All I do is I empower people by saying, hey, it's possible. Do you want to walk through into this kind of space, the dream time, the other side, the space off the set? And do you want to go behind the scenes? And because I know what's possible, I can take people there. I have to be careful that I'm not suggesting memories to them. And I don't bother, because the stuff that they remember is wild. And that's why, Many Lives, Many Masters changed my life, because I just went, well, if I've lived more than once and the tone of it is just so pure, it's real, then, well, I don't actually need to prove anything in this lifetime. I can actually do what I feel like doing, what I'm interested in. And that's how that book did change my life. And then when I sort of went behind the scenes, and then I understood, why I was attracted to the people that I did and what my karmic lessons were, and what the whole background story was, and it widened my sense of who I am. And I've been more than just the Eurasian kid that does economics and Chinese and then happens to have fallen into these different jobs and ended up here with two beautiful souls, two of you in Australia. I realized through recollecting my memories, and I haven't recollected all of them, is that I've been around for a very long time and in different realms, not just on the Earth realm, but, people have remembered galactic wars. People have remembered being on Mars, and people have remembered being under the ocean. People have remembered working with dragons, or, or in mines, or being aliens. All of that stuff that we see in popular culture, or that kids get excited about. Pegasus, unicorns, fairies, all of it. There are memories and people's experiences that relate to that. And it's real. It's real. There are realms of experience.
And I suppose there's nothing that really surprises you anymore.
No, and I forget so much as well. I was talking to somebody that I worked with years ago, and I was saying to her, do you remember when you were in the Korean War and the sun went off, and when you came back it was all ruined? He says, yeah, I remember that, but you know what? I remember the one where I was in the 8th dimension in the future. And I was going, I don't remember that. What was it like?
And I like another thing that you mentioned about being the cleanup crew. And I thought, yeah, that's powerful as well, with all what's going on at the moment. And, you know, there's massive changes and awakening and all sorts of things. And I thought, yeah, we are the cleanup crew, you know, making way for a better new future.
Yeah, that actually ties in with Guy's question about hypnotherapy's insights for between life soul planning insights. Yeah, there are a number of people that when they go into this time before they were born in this lifetime, and they connect with their actors who are in this lifetime, and they work out what their role is going to be in this lifetime, that is very, very clear. And some of them don't have any sort of relationship kind of lessons or saying no type of lessons or having a different way of parenting type of lessons or working with the environment type of lessons. A lot of them are actually finding that they have been working in realms where there is a better balance with nature or with each other. And so a lot of the star seeds or people who've been on higher dimensional realms have actually incarnated intentionally to bring that onto the human earth realm now. And that includes us, I expect, as well.
But it's amazing what we carry from past lives, from our ancestors and from family members. You know, a lot of people haven't any idea what you're carrying from the past behind you. You know, and it's like, come on, let's start getting shifting this and really being out there to do what you've come to do, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of energy healers or massage therapists, you know, when they find out what I do, they all start talking to me. You know, oh yeah, you know, a massage therapist will say, oh yeah, you know, when I have clients on the table, you know, often in their field they'll sort of see the spear or, you know, the bat, and they'll be taking it out without really knowing the context for it. And I guess the whole thing is it's about free will, isn't it? If you know, this human realm is the free will one, and we've been here on a number of different rounds, and most of us have learned not to hate and fight and kill. But that doesn't mean we didn't do that in the past. So we kind of have to come back and be on the cleanup crew, or we have to make up. You know, we have to make up for what we did in the past, and also what that violence did to Earth, or you know, that contamination did. So we get multiple chances to try and clean up the mess that we did, you know, last time around.
Yeah. So do you work with a lot of people over Zoom or Skype, you know, over the airwaves, or is it mainly in person?
Generally, when I started off, it was in person. I wouldn't have even imagined doing it on Skype or over Zoom. But obviously with COVID, that has changed. Everyone, including me, has become comfortable with doing that. And I just feel so privileged when, you know, somebody finds me from India or Denmark or even the Russian satellite countries. And there's a lot of youngsters who are interested in time travel, time bending, you know, with Ang the Last Airbender. There's a lot to that, what happens that, you know, the theme about cleaning up your past lives or bringing in the connections, even dealing with the greater yin and yang in Ang the Last Airbender and Avatar, which I'm doing. They're all there for a reason. And yeah, the young ones are really into that. They're very open, and they're very multidimensional. And that's where we need to go, is because we need to be able to not just clean up our own stories, we need to also be able to clean up the energies and raise the frequencies and heal the wounds of the heart. Because until we unlock our heart and we start operating through the heart, there won't be any harmony.
Powerful. Now, I know apparently you've written a book, or you've co-authored a book.
Yeah, I have. It's this one, The Awakening. So I was very lucky. This is
you might have to do it again. Pull it up again.
Sorry?
Yeah.
There you go. Oops.
All right, okay.
So it's published by Adriana Alvarez that we had Untamed with Adriana, and she's wild. She's mixed blood like me. And Jeff, do you remember she went off to Albania and volunteered there in the orphanage, and just has this really strong sense of self-belief. And she got a group of us together. Atira Tan, who is working with the sex trafficked kids in Cambodia. She was also on our show, as was Abigail, the DNA codes. So yeah, I was very lucky. I was writing a book already to try and put some of the knowledge that I've gained through working on both on the Qigong side and in the past lives and between lives and on other realms, and trying to put that into a book. In fact, guys encouraged me that, and I'm still working on that, and writing the chapter for Awakening was part of that. But it's a pretty powerful chapter. I'm very pleased with it. You can download it on Kindle. Lots of good authors and inspiration in there, and techniques as well.
Excellent.
So guys asking additional future life feedbacks to present life experiences. Yes, that's the big one, isn't it? I have had a lot of people go into future lives, and some of them just a couple of years into the future where they see themselves married, because they're going in, do I stay with this guy or not? Some of them are going, do I switch jobs or not? So in just plain vanilla hypnotherapy or NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, there is that option where you utilize the fact that your subconscious pretty much extrapolates, all things being equal, what your future will be like in 3 years' time if you continue doing what you do. And they actually use it for smokers and gamblers and drinkers and other unhealthy patterns to basically really simulate what you're going to be, what state you're going to be in 3 years if you continue. And then what we do is we sort of say you're at the fork, and then now go up the other path, which is going to be a lot harder but a lot healthier. And then we find out, well, if you don't smoke or drink or gamble or whatever it is that you're doing, womanizing, what's your life going to be like? And amazingly, the subconscious can really extrapolate that very convincingly. So that sort of going future in the timeline is something that is done in plain vanilla hypnotherapy, and people who are looking at their soul decisions often do land in future lifetimes as well, and they're very different, Guy. Everyone who's listening. I think, and this is where I think it's the collective. If enough of us dream the same thing, it's going to happen. But if it's the minority, it's it will happen in your kind of hologramic universe that you're going to go into the next one. So we've had, around 2012. I'm sure Jeff and Andrena, you remember, there was, a lot of, is the world's going to split, or is the world going to die and we're just going to go across? A lot of people were dreaming of earthquakes and fires and tidal waves at that time, and rescues by the galactics. So at that time, there was actually a lot of future lines that were being shown, and but they tended to be like more 30 years out into communities where crystals have come up from the ground that are then being used for power generation. Karen Langford, who's been wonderful for us on the show and introduced quite a lot of the speakers, she and I would actually get together every 2 weeks and take ourselves into the future or into parallel lives, and they've been great community type, back to the roots, back to nature type of future scenarios that have been seen and will probably apply to that person that saw them. Equally, I've had people go into very technologically advanced ones, but in harmony with nature. So, harvesting energy from the sun and then storing it in crystals underneath, spaceships around the Earth, protecting the Earth from alien invaders that are not friendly, humans being able to telepath, and as we've already have galactic star brothers and sisters who are helping us. We had Elena Danan on the show talking about the abductions, but also the rescues. So I've had clients where there's a lot of interaction on that level too. So, yeah, just a quick summary of future lives for Guy.
The future is good, hey?
It is. Don't give up. Seriously.
No, definitely not. No.
Yeah. And this is where I want to share something, because apart from investigations, I used to work with a lot of intelligence specialists and counterintelligence agents, and I didn't actually know what counterintelligence was until my colleagues, work on that field. And in the old days, nations used to feed information into the intelligence networks. Some of it would be true, and some of it would be fake. And they would do that to confuse the governments. That kind of stuff is now not happening just on a government-to-government basis, but it is happening on a government-to-population basis. And that is sowing all that dissent. And in my view, and I'm not really a specialist, but when do you remember the Oklahoma bombing?
Yep.
I think that was the first time everybody sat up and noticed, this is just, 2 or 3 people or one person on their own. They just blew up a government office. And ever since then, I think, nations have gone, oh, we can actually get the people of a nation to turn against their governments. Hey, let's exploit this. So a lot of dissent and polarization we see at the moment is actually arising from that. So please don't buy into it, because there's an agenda, and you always need to work out what the agenda is, and also work out what your own truth and principles is, and where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years time. Every dream you have, every belief that you embrace becomes a part of your reality. So choose very carefully what you want to believe.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. The power of your thoughts, eh? So how long does a session take when you work with people, or does it vary? I mean, do you allow an hour or a couple of hours, or?
Yeah, Andrena, for normal hypnotherapy, it's about 2 hours, but for the past lives, it's usually 3 hours, because it does actually take a bit of time to piece together who you are when you're not being you. And so you have to dedicate a bit more time.
I mean, that's a big issue in itself when you start the session with yourself, and then first of all, you have to become quite comfortable in the presence of the room that you've just gone into, and perhaps yourself, and all these little sideline issues when the person sort of has got to become more comfortable before you can then start working with them and get past all that entertainment style that's out there in hypnotherapy to slowly but surely get the trust and then start to unlock what's in their mind. So I suppose most people listening and watching the show would probably think, oh, that's just monkey mind stuff that's coming out. And perhaps it is, in the sense that, it's like your street rubbish collector comes one certain day of the week and you put out your bags or your rubbish in the 2 different bins or whatever you got. So I suppose in the first part of your session is just getting rid of all the baggage, and then slowly but surely you got all those gold nuggets that start coming out. And then when you've had the finish the session and you're having a cup of tea or whatever it is that you're doing, and then you bring out these gold nuggets, surely that must inspire people to really start looking at this whole in-depth subject that you're talking about. As in the Greek philosophy of Apollo's temple, it says, man, know thyself. So it's obviously out there in different civilizations there to go within and get that knowledge. So is that basically what actually happens? You have to get past that first step of coming across into your place, your workshop, your theatre, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think the reason I actually learned how to become a facilitator was because I certainly wasn't going to trust a stranger to hypnotize me, even though I really wanted to do it. But yeah, I was just really leery. So I think you do have to find someone that you trust that is not going to make suggestions behind your back or behind the scenes. Of course, most of us, do it for the love of the work and because we see the differences, we see the shining eyes and the realization, and sometimes just all the grief and the emotional release that happens during the sessions that doesn't belong into the present, it belongs to the future. And just the amazing things that can happen in terms of understanding why we might have lost somebody in a past life, or we might not have got together with someone in this lifetime, even though we really loved them. And we might find out that, well, that was because they went off to war and never came back. So we didn't trust them to come back in this lifetime, even though we really loved them. But then, realizing that, oh, okay, that was that lifetime, so it's going to be okay this lifetime. Yeah, there is that trusting the pictures or the feelings that come. And when I started out, I was new to this. I couldn't even get pictures in my head. I remember meeting a kinesiologist, and she'd be working on me, and she'd say, "Oh, I see this and this." And I'm going, "Where are you seeing? Where are you seeing it?" She's saying, "It's seeing in my ear." I'm going, "You see pictures in there?" So I'm like, how do you do that? And I'd be the one that go to the workshop, and there'd be a shamanic, go into the garden. So and so will meet you, and now go out of the garden gate. By the time everybody was going out the garden gate, I had my first picture. I was going, wait, I only just got through.
I can understand that one.
So yeah, it does take time to we download the data really fast. As soon as the eyes are going like REM, that's when I know the data is coming down. But then, as you say, Jeff, trusting it and unpacking it takes a bit of time, and that's why the 3 hours, because after the first half an hour, you kind of
believe in it as well, isn't it? Some of these things you think, oh, hello, that's not for real, surely. It's some things are so bizarre. You think, no, that can't be right, but it is.
It is, absolutely, yeah. And then when you do other type of work, like family constellations or the qigong, and you work with other people, or you engage with other people who have done that kind of work, and it just becomes perfectly natural to talk about that faculty that humans have to, access the memories, not of yourself, but also of other events that you haven't even been involved in. There is quantum entanglement, and our brain can build structures in 13 quantum levels, and we can access information. We can do remote viewing. We can go back in time. And in fact, some people do that because they don't actually want to find out the skeletons in their cupboards, so they just might go sightseeing first.
Yeah. And why not? if you've got a big cupboard full, keep the door locked. But then at some point they're going to want to break out. So just being aware, eh?
But it is that, we're spirit and body, but our spirit is not tied to this body. So our spirit is always free.
Excellent. Well, I must admit, a long time ago, I think I've had a little bit, but it never really resonated with me because I just couldn't seem to get a picture or a feeling. And then I might say, oh, well, I got sandals on or something like that. And then I think, oh, I'm making this up. So for me, I think I did it once or twice, years and years ago, but it didn't really resonate. So I think, whether it wasn't the right time or the right person, I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you probably weren't ready then. And,
no.
Sometimes it's too far a jump from where one is with one's beliefs and understanding of how the world works. Sometimes people just want to focus on this lifetime, and that's fine too. I do more than
I think there's enough to deal with in this lifetime without worrying about all the past.
Exactly. But it's
For
pretty
me,
useful to work out before
yeah,
you get together with someone. It's really useful to work out whether you've had a past life with them before. When your
yeah,
kids come along and you're clashing and you're trying to work out why they're so upset about this little thing, that's when you ask the question. That's when you get the information. And that's when you get your aha moment. Okay,
yeah.
when you
'Cause
understand.
the kids would be horrified if you think, well, in the past life you were my husband and now you're my son, or something like that. Oh, for God's sake, Mum, you're off the planet. But little do they know that we've all come in together playing different roles to help each other to grow and move on. But
Yeah. That's why when you meet people, you know you can trust them or you know you can't trust them. It's because we've been actors, we're soul families, soul groups, and we kind of graduate together.
yeah,
But that's the beautiful thing. Then it doesn't matter if your kid dies, which is why, Dr. Brian Weiss made me happy again when I was at that Singapore airport, leaving my little daughter to go off to Indonesia to work for 2 weeks, because then I kind of knew, okay, if I fail her, if I lose her in this lifetime, she'll still be around and we'll be together again in another lifetime. And that kind of just takes the edge off the fear and anxiety of messing up. Because we're allowed to mess up, and we do mess up, and then we come and clean up. We do it differently. It's as simple as that.
There you go. I put up the keyhole. Yeah.
looks like a crystal ball to me. Whose keyhole is it?
I just need to keep open.
It's a graphic design one. It's about just unlocking the universe and your role in it. And we are children of the universe, and I think it just feels good to know that. And the reason I picked that picture with the woman with a shell and the kid with the ears, because when I was learning hypnotherapy, Glenn, God bless his soul, he took me into a past life. I was going, I think I've been in Atlantis. Can you take me into Atlantis? So I gave him the script. He read it out to me. And then he was like, but he didn't really believe in it, so he's kind of racing through it. So I got a flash, and I was like swimming up to the island, and it's a bit like that. Was that the one where the squirrel eats the acorn, and then Atlantis flushes down? I can't remember. Anyway, Jeff knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, this beautiful blue water and this beautiful temple and island. I'm swimming to it. Okay, I'm there. And then he says, and now you're going to come out of it. Okay, what? But all I do remember was that I had funny ears. Like, I had ears that were like that size. And so when I saw that picture, I was going, yeah, that was it. That was me. That was probably my type.
That's the first thing I noticed was those ears.
Absolutely.
Oh, dear. Lucky you haven't brought them in this lifetime, eh?
Well, actually, if you do Qigong with me, you get to have elephant ears and tiger ears. And I've just worked out that the energy goes out this way and comes in that way. So, and then if you kind of really activate and do all this kind of stuff, clear that, then your liver and your gallbladder will be less congested, and you'll be less frustrated, and you'll be much more calm. So don't send the energy out that way, send it back in.
So do you teach Qigong online, or do you do a Zoom class, or are you doing it in the parks now that everything?
We do it in the parks now, yeah. I did do it online during COVID, but it's actually really hard as a teacher to not walk around your students and sense their energy. It's very hard to do that on a two-dimensional screen. So I teach it with Brisbane City Council in the parks at Guyot Park and Brookfield, Monday and Wednesday mornings, and when winter's over, we would be in West End again as well.
Because that's always a good start to the day, isn't it, to do something like that?
Absolutely. Before 8 o'clock is the best energy, because as you know, that there is the pure energy, from midnight onwards, there's a bit of a cleaning as the yin energy comes through. Then just sort of dawn, 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock is like pure energy for the day. So if you can be outside, and Australians are great at that, just watching the sunrise, that's typically when you're actually downloading the frequencies for the day, just as the birds are and all the animals are. And you're tuning into pretty much the divine natural order. And it can then consciously become a part of you. So, and the frequencies which are pure for that day, if you're doing it like at 12 o'clock onwards, or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, there's another switch of the energies then as well. So if you've got too much energy, you can do it like in the late afternoon when the energies are starting to sink. Yeah, that's the other thing I'm passionate about, is energy and underlies everything, and we are quite natural in terms of a lot of things that people do, like putting hands on the lower back, is actually, that's where your energetic gate is for the kidneys. So when you're supporting someone like that naturally, or when you go like that, closing the gates, bringing our spirit back in, calming in the heart. So yeah, sorry, I can go on forever about Qigong. Don't get me going.
Well, that's something I haven't done. I've done what's the other one? Not Qigong. There's
Tai Chi.
Yeah, Tai Chi. I've done a bit of that in the past, but not very much. And I had a go at it. Oh gosh, way back, like a past life now. And what I found, because my mind was so active, I couldn't slow myself down to do them, because you have to do the moves very slow, didn't you? And it just didn't resonate with me. It took me a while to realize that my mind was so active that I couldn't slow my movements down, whereas now it's different. But at the time I thought, oh, this is not for me, I don't like this. But now I know, looking back, why I couldn't do it, because my mind was just so busy. My mind was running the show. So yeah, powerful stuff.
Yeah, the mind chews up a lot of energy. But the reason we do it so slow is that when we breathe in and out, the energy actually follows the breath and your awareness. So wherever your awareness is, the energy goes. So if your energy is thinking about yesterday or tomorrow, it's going to be outside of your aura. It's just being basically evaporated. But if you bring awareness into your body, then the vessel can be filled up and you won't be as depleted. And then when you get to the feeling where you can feel the earth energy flowing in through your feet and up into your hips, into your womb or into your belly, then you really feel supported and like part of the whole. And then you don't have to run around and try and prove so much or get so much anymore, because it's actually really, really relaxing and supportive to actually be in the present.
Yeah, because my passion is yoga. And I mean, when I was living in Australia, I was doing it twice a week at one point. And I mean, I was just getting to places I didn't even know I had. It was amazing. But, of course, with lockdown and lack of space and all these different things now, I've not done so much, but I'm doing different things to keep myself fit and healthy as best I can. So, and that's the key, isn't it? Is doing what we can to keep ourselves motivated. And there's so much out there now, isn't there? There's so many choices to follow, and on YouTube there's all sorts of you can follow, and there's no reason why you can step out and start doing more for yourself if you choose.
Absolutely. There's I think we have to make it our priority, and a big shout out to Maria and Vicky. Thank you for your sweet comments. You're wonderful too. And there is so much information. There's so many courses, but just remember that you are your own sovereign. You're your own emperor, empress, princess, prince. It's your empire, your realm, and you are the one that your cells will listen to, your spirit will talk to, your organs will just really appreciate if you spend time with them, just being inside, just sitting with them. And that is all you need to do, and that changes everything when you're actually present for those different parts of yourself that are not the mind.
And I think that's been the hardest part for a lot of people to realize the mind has been running the show, to get people to come more into the heart and feel their heart and just breathe, and you're dropping back into the body.
Absolutely. And I was quite interested because I've recently read a James Twyman's book where he's in Bosnia and Croatia, and there's a beautiful method that I've been trying out with my Qigong and meditation buddies, and it's where you basically take a negative emotion and a positive emotion, but not at the same time, and you just breathe it through the heart and then send it out as pure energy. So the transformative nature of ourselves, the fact that we actually are able to transform energies and emotions, again, is something that we should be embracing as co-creators of our reality and future scenarios. What have you got up there, Jeff?
It's your commentary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about Qigong and what it does for you and how you shift the energy and movement, rotating hips and joints and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty profound, isn't it? Hey, when I was listening to you girls, I was actually taken back many years ago to North Stradbroke Island off Brisbane, and there was a group of us had rented this house, and I think it was Jason McDonald said, look, you all got to get up early, and we had to get up before dawn. And so it was the most profound experience I've ever had. I mean, the only thing I could represent to anybody watching and listening to the show was Nicolas Cage in the movie City of Angels. In the City of Angels, all the helpers in the spirit world would all turn up at the beach and watch the sunrise. You remember that particular movie? Can you read? Yeah. Well, we all got up there, and it was really interesting because all the birds started to turn up and sitting in trees and on the power lines, doing exactly straight out of that movie, just waiting for the sunrise. And the sea was as flat as can be, yeah. And then, just as the first rays of that sun came up, just like that movie, or anybody else has seen a sunrise, it was almost like the sun turned on the ocean. Mm-hmm. And it was like it set off a first pulse. And so here's this flat sea, and all of a sudden the light switch from the sun just came through and set this pulse. And all of a sudden there was movement in the actual ocean. And then shortly as the sun rose, more and more pulses were coming out. And so you then started to see waves start to form. You see the sets of waves coming through as in like a music, It was the most profound experience. Once the sun was up to a certain height, then all the birds, some were singing away as in the morning chorus, and then they all flew off. It was amazing, spectacular scene where we just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I'm sure that happens every day of the week, but how often you get up to see the sunrise to see that profound effect?
Mm.
Yep, it's the universal forces of creation that are right here for us to tap into and experience and enjoy.
Definitely.
Right. It's that time, mate, when
it
Julia,
is, yeah.
Gotta go now. Gotta go.
My socialization index is maxed out. I've run out of profound things to say. No, I love you guys. Thank you very much for the chance to, thank you for your interest and just the willingness to feature me. And Jeff, it's been a great ride on Dreaming the New Dream. Wishing the two of you all the best. I'm really excited to see the speakers you're going to be bringing on. I'm sure I'll be tuning in. And
so am I.
Commenting. Thank you very much, Veronica, for joining. I'll get back to you. And Maria, hello. Goodbye. And everyone else, past, present, and future, thank you for joining us in Dreaming the New Dream.
Right. So with that, I really appreciate what you've done for us. And it was the Nike symbol, just do it. And that's exactly what we did. And it was was a marriage made in heaven in terms of business. It was just, well, it wasn't business, it was passion, wasn't it? Really, just worked hand in glove, wasn't it? Fantastic. Next week, we're doing something completely out of left field, which is what we've been doing. Out of left field came an invitation to go out with the whales for 7 days. Yeah. So whilst the show may not go live on radio or down on the app, we are going to go live, through our Facebook sites. And so Andrena's been on the boats up in Harvey Bay with the whales, and the people who are coming on the boat trip that I'm going with, they'll be brought up to speed that we want to pull aside on a Thursday to be able to do a show where we've picked up footage with the whales. It is the birthing place here in Australia for mothers to get their calves, so it's quite a plethora of whales, and just to go to sleep here in the whale song, it reminds you of Star Trek, The Voyage Home, Save the Two Whales, so let's how we go and see if we get that Wi-Fi spot. We're going to definitely have a go. Yeah.
Excellent. I look forward to that.
All right. Nothing else to say. It's just been fantastic, Julie. Great ride. Andrena, welcome to the family. It's going to be interesting for people to understand that we're on the east coast of Australia and you're in the UK. So your richness of knowing Glastonbury, the tour, all the different pilgrims have come there, Joseph of Arimathea, Arthur and Genevieve from the Arthurian legends, right through to Wiltshire, where you get all the crop circles. It's just an amazing ride, along with Stonehenge and Avebury. Yeah. So it's Druten stones and all that stuff. Yeah. So let's see what the next part of the trip is, and I'm sure we could actually get Julia to come in, 12 months' time to see how our journey's developing.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Thank you, Julia. It's been lovely working with you and listening to you and knowing more about you. I did, like I said, I listened to a bit on your awakening video, and I was going back through listening to some of the interviews that you guys had done. So so I should have a little listen and see what I can bring through for future weeks.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Jeff and Andrena.
Thank you. It's lovely to see you again.
Good to see you.